Hi, friends, and welcome back to the official EGF channel. My name is Proper. Join with me again is Jag, and thank you so much for the raid. Hope everybody enjoyed all of those other matches that happened on the other stream on the EGF Overwatch channel. And, well, there are a lot of 3-0s across the board. You just watched UT Arlington beat DePaul University 3-0, and before that, St. John's University beat University of Colorado 3-0. All across the board, 3-0s, some close, some not so close, Jag, but we have one last match here tonight for you all. It's going to be Fairfield University versus Quinnipiac University.
Yeah, like you said, 3-0s across the board today. So, the script writers, they wrote their script and they've been sticking to it. But, this last match, we might see that script finally broken. We might see a map 4 or map 5. I mean, the map set's been great, the same maps we've been seeing all day, but I would love just to see a little bit of Gibraltar and Busan at some point. Maybe we'll see that tonight for the last match. Maybe we won't, but both these teams, just like every team we've seen today, they want to come out of that gate hot. They want to get that first win on week 1.
Yeah, to start off on a grand gesture of being 1-0 in regular play throughout the second season here of EGF would be a great place to be in. Starting 0-1, you still have a lot of weeks. I mean, this is a pretty long season, so you have a lot of adaptations. There could be some scrims that come through, some videos that you could end up going to back and reference, so that way you can come back the next week even stronger. So it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of these collegiate teams all adjust throughout the regular season until we get to that pinnacle playoff moment. But nevertheless, again, you got to stress collegiate players, they are scholars first before they are esports competitors. So it's always going to be interesting to see how many individuals are going to come out on the comfort picks. We saw that happen just in the last match on the EGF Overwatch channel, to where you had DePaul University playing a lot of Doomfist. We saw that earlier as well, Jack, where we didn't end up seeing the tried and true Somber Reaper composition. It's going to be a very fun time, and I'm always interested to see what a lot of pocket picks a lot of these young individuals have.
Hey, talk about watching videos. I mean, I'm sure the players will be able to watch this back, hear our lovely voices, see how beautiful we look on camera, but they'll learn from it too. I mean, they'll also have the VODs to go over and make sure they can correct any mistakes they make. But I think you break up a good point. We haven't really seen any hard meta picks by any of the universities. We have seen some Reaper Somber today, but mostly it's just been universities like kind of running what they think is best, maybe running what they're most comfortable with. It's hard to sometimes force a hero pool on a player. Maybe their Reaper or Somber isn't up to par. Maybe the Winston and Diva, synergy of a dive just doesn't work, so it's easier to play Brawl. At the end of the day, the meta is the meta for a reason, but that doesn't mean it's the only way to win. And we've seen teams win in a variety of ways. I mean, that Soldier pick we saw a few games back, that was pretty crazy. They locked the legs and it worked out really well. So let's see if we have any diversity here as we start out on Oasis.
Oasis in the first stage will be City Center for you all. And well, I'm glad you brought up Rider University. That was the last match that we had here on the official EGF channel. With Riggs and their Soldier 76 that they played all the way through. It's definitely a staple to say the least, which I'm always interested to see. Again, how many pocket picks are going to come out to play? How many individuals are going to come out here and be playing Genji or just playing these off-meta picks that could end up just really sticking? Because, I mean, although you end up playing the meta composition of Somber Reaper, there's a lot of execution that comes into play. Every single role, every single hero has to be in its fine-tuned area for that composition specifically to work. And if you're not a well-oiled machine, it's pretty easy to pick apart with, say, a damage-boosted Genji, for example. But nevertheless, here we are. City Center, Oasis. Excited to see what these two universities have to offer.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to see a Brawl coming out from Fairfield versus more of a dive comp for Quinnipiac. So, this is traditionally known more as a dive map because of that high ground, but we've seen Brawl run so much today, and it's worked out pretty well for the teams who have done it. So let's see if the Gambit works out.
Fairfield is going to go ahead and take the lift, immediately pop up there. Good projected barrier coming through from Wrench, means that they're going to get a decent amount of energy off. Adric going for a little bit of a pin. Misses just a bit on the outside, but the dive has come through. They have found isolated targets in both the Ashe and the Ana. Is a all-out warfare in the favor for Quinnipiac as they find all of the eliminations. Just the lone Zarya left alive. Wrench will be dealt with handily.
I've seen so many spawn camps today, and I'm wondering right now if we're going to see another one. But no, Quinnipiac just going to take a more traditional position right outside of the point, and that was a really good fight for them. I mean, they took the high grounds. It seemed like that the tanks on the side of Fairfield just didn't have the room to move around. And one thing that's very interesting, they don't have the Lucio. They have the Mercy instead. So while they have that pocket potential, they don't have the speed. They can't really collapse on the enemy team.
WLK comes back on the Hanzo. Great aspects is back on the Reaper. They want to really punish these tanks, but WLK finds a really nasty tree trunk headshot. That's onto Grub. The Tracer's down. 5v6 on the control point itself. And we're still looking for a lot of poke in the backline is Firewolf. Big hammer down comes through from Adric. They knock a handful of members on their back, but Firewolf is in their backline causing up a ruckus. Now Broccoli also on a lot of focus here with the Coalescence and the Tactical Visor to boot. Although you found a big meaty shatter there, Adric, it was Quinnipiac that had the ultimate advantage.
Yeah, and I think what I just said really proved to be true there. They got a huge shatter, but could they follow up? No, they were too far away. They weren't able to follow up and finish those kills. They did get Pedro, but that was all they really got. And, they got Grub very early on, but again, just not able to close the distance. So losing what was essentially a 4v6, not how you want to start off this match.
Walking in here, Wrench finally has that Graviton Surge. Pulse Bomb comes through, actually takes down Charlie. So you lost your support, even though WLK opens up with another pick again. 2-for-2 trade in the eliminations. But you already lost a lot of healing coming through now that you lost your Mercy. And well, it looks like that Fairfield are just trying to back themselves up the spawn. But it's nearing 90% here. This is looking dangerous, Jack.
Yeah, and we've seen this time and time again where they try to chase the flanker in their backline. They aren't able to touch, but there is a grab coming up. Can the Mercy touch? And they can. So that isn't a trigger overtime because they touch it in 5 seconds, but I'm not sure anyone else is going to get back.
And just in time, Great Aspects get here. Self-destruct is going to take them down. Tactical Visor just as the cherry on top here comes through from Maga. And Adric won't be able to get here in time. The Graviton Surge from Wrench in their spawn. They didn't have the follow-up, much like that Earth Shatter in the fight prior to that.
Yeah, and you saw the Dragons come out at the end, so it looks like that was one of their set plays, but even though the Hanzo was popping off, WLK getting some picks, they just weren't able to execute what they were looking for, and in the end, not able to get any point percentage on City Center. But now, we're going to Gardens. They have a chance to even this map up, and they're going to be running a double off-tank setup, it looks like.
Oh, we saw a double off-tank work earlier. That was a Zarya and a D.Va. Though here on Control, it's going to come down to a lot of different focus aspects. And I mean, you could take the Roadhog, yes, to try to stop the dive, because Firewolf was able to distract and disrupt a lot in Fairfield's backline that previous stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just looks like they didn't really know what to do. I was really surprised by Firewolf using the Primal in what looks like a lost fight, but they were able to bring it back from the brink. Now, it looks like they're going to be trying to run a brawl with 2 off-tanks. They're just going to be running into the enemy head-on.
And here it is, the all-out battle on Gardens, battle for the high ground initially before the control point unlocks. Great Aspects is on the Sombra, great hook comes through from Adric, but they're unable to finalize the elimination. A very elusive Moira Broccoli is, and Fairfield, although they're in control of the high ground, Quinnipiac are already dropped down, but they have been reduced to absolutely rubble. They have their health pools are just disrupted. Broccoli's trying to keep everybody at full HP, and Zodiac Killer built their coalescence before Broccoli, and this might be the definitive factor. They're beaming through so many individuals, overhealing a lot of their tanks, and keeping themselves alive in the process. Tactical Visor, Pulse Bomb, and Primal Rage all in effect here for Quinnipiac, but the focus fire is being disrupted from a whole hog from Adric, unable to keep themselves on the side of the entire map, trying to lock down an elimination. Grub will take down Adric, but WLK is still alive. They're able to find a key storm arrow on the pilot D.Va, and now finally Fairfield come on top of an engagement. They're gonna get control of the point.
How many ults were used in that? I believe at least 4, maybe? I'm not sure if the beat was used or maybe it was used and they died using it, but you know, a lot of ults being thrown in there, and like you said, Fairfield able to get up on top of it. You know, there were a lot of good hooks from Adric, weren't able to find any finishing blows at the beginning, but they were able to stay alive long enough. They got that fight going for a pretty long time, were able to sustain, and now, right now, Fairfield finally getting some ult percentage, or point percentage.
Quinnipiac are trying to work their way around the backside. They're trying to get WLK to be a little bit uncomfortable. Self-destruct comes through and splits up the now defending team of Fairfield. And Grub was able to work their way in and was able to find Zodiac Killer. Dragon Strike comes through, is immediately splitting Quinnipiac in half. But that's exactly what the dive wants in Adric. They don't have the ability to take a breather, and well, the DPS of Quinnipiac are able to flourish in that as they get the point flip.
I really think right now we need to see WLK swap off onto the Reaper. But yeah, the Pulse Bomb was eaten. Quinnipiac just gonna push their advantage a little bit and force the other team to back up. Fairfield did get 44% on the point, but they used a lot of ults there. They do have the EMP still online, but what can they follow it up with?
It's gonna be interesting. EMP is a team fight winning ultimate, but Quinnipiac are just so split. I mean, Firewolf pops a Primal Rage, just absolutely belittling Wrench inside the spawn, and again, this is what this composition is absolutely looking for. Fairfield didn't even get a chance to fight together.
Yeah, that poor baby D.Va just kind of getting booped all over the map. In the end, not going to be able to remake, is going to fall. But they didn't use really anything there, so not a bad fight to lose for Fairfield. Now the point percentage is going to be evened up, so now both teams on even playing ground. Now we're going to see if we can see Great Aspects hit a big EMP. They are in the back line, but they're going to be found out by the Lucio.
And of all players that you don't want to be scouted out by, it's Cookie. You want that EMP from Great Aspects to lock down Cookie, but Firewolf chases the translocator of Great Aspects. WLK does find a trade on a Cookie, so the beat is out of the fight. Maga is up top with the tactical visor, immediately is able to trade Lucio for Lucio. It is a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Quinnipiac as the Diva of Wrench displaces Maga, but the healing field is going to be able to keep them alive for the time being. Great pull spawn from Adric, or onto Adric from Grub. Takes them out of the fight as they were mid whole hog. And now it's all just focus fire from here on out, but it's actually Fairfield that are coming out on top of that. EMP still in the pocket for Fairfield's great aspects. And there's just a lone Lucio of Cookie that is stalling on this point for what seems like an eternity. I can't believe they're still alive. We'll finally go for the disengage. They are hacked up, and the point will flip yet again in Fairfield's name.
Yeah, Quinnipiac, though, got so much point percentage there. Now they're one fight away, so they turn this, they get back control of it, and then all they need to do is fight off a little bit of what might be a late stagger if they aren't able to finish everyone off. I think the big thing there is, again, we're going to see the Lucio on the side of Fairfield. I think Die trying to get that beat off, so that's twice they have not been able to. And now here's the Winston diving in.
Looking for the immediate displacement. EMP comes through, finds 4. One of those that got hit was Cookie, but Maga was able to find great aspects with just the pulse rifle. Wrench with the self-destruct, just so that way they can get another mech. And Broccoli pulls out the Coalescence and just absolutely beaming through a lot of different targets. And WOK just able to get back up, but Zodiac cannot. Did some Moira down, a lot of burst ceilings taken out, and they were just 7% shy to the Coalescence. Would have been an ultimate that you wish you had to turn the tides of this fight. Now at 94% and counting up, they get the flip. You're going to hope that you're able to get here in time, but Charlie is taken down just trying to get here in time. Great aspects get here, but they're taken out of the mix immediately. Zodiac Killer tries to fade away, but the Helix Rocket's going to catch them off immediately, and well, Wrench isn't able to get here in time. A 2-0 victory in stages on Oasis goes in Quinnipiac's favor as they take the map and go up in the series 1-0.
Fairfield looked pretty good, though, on that last point. I just think that their comp was a little wonky almost. I think that you can run the Diva Roadhog because they're basically running a brawl where, you know, those tanks were up in Quinnipiac's face. They just wanted to, you know, make them uncomfortable, put them out of position, take control of that high ground. But the Hanzo pick, you know, I'm really wondering if it's worth it. You don't have the Grav Dragons. The Dragon's honestly kind of a weird ultimate. You can use it maybe to try to, like, zone enemies out and maybe, like, combo of a bomb, but we didn't really see it there. It wasn't used at the end. They died with it. And in the end, you know, they died losing that round and the map. So, as you said, Quinnipiac going to go up 1-0. But I think if Fairfield can, you know, maybe come through with something a little bit more cohesive in terms of how they want to play this, they should have a pretty good chance on our second map, which is going to be Numbani.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at DPS synergy here again. With the Soldier and Tracer that you have between Grub and Maggie, you can definitely tell that the communication is definitely on fire for Quinnipiac, as you're seeing a lot of follow-up from Grub with the Pulse pistols, from the Pulse Rifle, from Maga, off of the dive between Firewolf and Pedro. It's absolutely a spectacle to see. And you have two elusive supports with the Lucio and the Moira, and that's why you're seeing a lot of those two supports being played, especially in Control. But as we move over to the hybrid map of Numbani, things might get a little bit more shaken up, potentially. Maybe you might see a little bit more brawl on defense, but dive seems to be the way that Quinnipiac want to go. And depending on how they want to try to approach this offense, as they will be taking offense first, it's going to be interesting to see how the Moira and Lucio are going to be able to trail that dive. But when you're looking at Fairfield and the DPS synergy, when you do have great aspects on that Sombra, WOK on the Hanzo seems much more of that comfort pick that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and it looks like they are going to be swapping a little bit. So WOK on the Ash, I think that's a great pick, especially with the Mercy pocket. Great aspects on the Reaper. So, you know, I hear that can be a little bit more self-sustained. The tank comp is very interesting. You know, the Rhine Diva, it can work. The Diva just kind of controls high ground. You have that big shield of the Rhine, but we're going to see something a little bit more similar to what we saw on the side of Quinnipiac from Oasis. They are going to be running the Mercy on us. So, again, the Mercy probably going to be looking to pocket the Soldier, maybe the Winston when they jump in. And it might be a battle of the Anas right now. Charlie and Broccoli, you know, whoever can hit the biggest nade might be the real winner here.
You talk about the Anas, I'm looking at the Divas. Whose defense matrix is going to be better placed to be able to shut down these biotic nades? But Quinnipiac are looking for the dive. Maga with the Helix Rockets immediately takes out great aspects. That's a lot of damage gone. Now WLK really has to step up, but Atrix has absolutely no shield. Their HP pool is being absolutely decimated, and Wrench will soon follow. Great opening dive from Quinnipiac as it's all just clean up from here on out. WLK does find a consolation elimination, but they are stuck inside a small corridor, and the res comes through nevertheless as Quinnipiac take control of the point. It's being contested for a little bit of time as Great Aspects somehow works their way back in here. Bye-bye Fairfield. Nobody's going to be here to help you. Just a slow descent to your death.
Can we just talk about the names of supports right now on the side of Quinnipiac? Cookie and Broccoli. Do they have a food theme thing? So they also have Grub on their side. But regardless, yeah, a great dive. They just put Adric in a position they didn't want to be in. And, you know, it's really hard to counter the dive as Orion. You're either going to be swinging wildly for the fences, and when you know the enemy team has an Ana, that's not really what you want to do. We saw that Pedro put so much pressure onto Adric, just dived in with the boosters, and it was enough. And that was just a very quick, clean fight to take that first point. Now 5 minutes and counting, and they've built up a few ultimates in the process.
And speaking of ultimates, I mean, great aspect has been handed. Their rear end, they only have 40% towards their Death Blossom. Wrench comes in and is immediately able to punish Firewolf for a miscoordinated dive. Pedro loses their mech as well. So before a full team fight actually breaks loose, Firewolf and Pedro get a little bit too far. They don't have the sustain from their supports, and now the rest of the team of Quinnipiac are going to be focused down as they just go ahead and take a little bit of a reprieve to set up for the next fight.
Yeah, that was a big res on the Adric, because if they didn't get it, that would have been an instant fight loss once you see Quinnipiac get back together, but that's a huge pulse bomb!
Yeah, Grub immediately taking down Zodiac Killer. You lost the Valkyrie, and then Charlie's doing a follow from Pedro, and their self-destruct takes down to 3v6 for the rest of the members of Fairfield, and Quinnipiac has a pair of monkey fists to say, I'm gonna go ahead and solidify the second capture point of Nubani for my team.
Pedro said, I see your bomb, Grove, and I will raise it double. Got 2 kills, and just like that, that fight was over before it really ever started. Now Grub just kind of on the flank, trying to find anything, but maybe getting a little bit too confident for their own skin. We do see ultimates now on the side of Fairfield, but they've also swapped to the Junkrat.
Junkrat might be a little bit more of that displacement damage that you're looking for, but Wrench with a self-destruct does take down Cookie. Now it's Quinnipiac that are out there Valkyrie in this 5v6. But you still have Grub just causing an absolute ruckus, and now Adric is going to get slapped. Trying to push for Broccoli. They got to farm Rage and keep themselves alive. The Valkyrie is used from Zodiac Killer. And WLK does go down. Grub has been in their face this entire time. The rest is going to come through nevertheless. Trying to set up for a dive here now is Quinnipiac. Just maybe waiting for that potential to come on through. And a little bit of miscoordinated as Firewolf goes in before Pedro is ready. But Grub placed the pulse bomb on the ground. Great aspect, just unfortunately steps right in the back of that. And now the tactical visor is in play for Mega. Bob also comes out to play for WLK, and Charlie is actually going to take matters into their own hands and take down Grub. 2-for-2 trade. Bob getting in the mix, but Firewolf, these Primal Rages have been absolutely insurmountable when Quinnipiac has them online.
Yeah, that was a very good nano visor coming out from Mega with an assist from Broccoli. Charlie still has the nano online, but they're swapping to the Rhine once again, so I'm assuming they're going to try to touch of a nano Rhine, but it's getting really close. They're touching now just in the nick of time.
Just going to be able to get here. Here's that nano boost onto Adric, the Reinhardt for Fairfield. Pedro's going to get caught in between a tree, a hard place, and a rocket hammer. And that's going to be a team fight victory for Fairfield. 3 minutes and 53 seconds on the board. Just capture a few more meters here. We're going to have a little bit of a tactical pause. I believe that Broccoli is having a little bit of connection issues to the lobby, but nevertheless, it's a really good time just to be able to stop that cart before it's all said and done in only using one ultimate, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, so far we've seen Mbani being captured by the first team that attacks on that map, always with 3 minutes plus, so pretty good stuff right now from the attackers. Quinnipiac, though, just not able to get the job done. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure what happened there. It looks like Pedro just kind of got stuck. Maybe didn't realize that tree was behind them, but very good reaction from the rest of the team just to back out, not force that fight, not get any more alt charge to the enemy. Now that clock's going to be winding down a little bit. Cookie does have the Valkyrie, but that's all they're working with right now.
Not too sure Broccoli had that nano boost before they disconnected. Regardless, they're not going to have it here. Coming into this next fight, being able to build a few more ultimates, getting a little bit of breath of fresh air as Fairfield and Firewolf immediately looking for a dive. Great aspects, looking for some tactical aerial denial damage with this Junkrat spam. As Adric is under a lot of pressure, Wrench throws in the self-destruct. A player is trapped in the back, and you can only imagine that's probably Grub, but Wrench is able to take down Firewolf. They didn't have the dome to keep themselves alive, and that's a main tank down for Quinnipiac. The rest is still here, nevertheless.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to rotate to get Grub, but just weren't able to collapse on them, and now they're going to be pushing really aggressively that they got the res on Firewolf.
They want to try to isolate Charlie, but it's Zodiac that actually goes down. Grub in this backline does find another pulse bomb. They take down the support single-handedly, or I guess double pulse rifle and pulse bomb handedly, as Pedro's also there to help out the dive to take down Adric. And now the fourth member also falls. They are dropping like pins. Quinnipiac are in firm control at this point. No player is here to get here in time to stop the cart in its process. 2 minutes and 40 seconds on the board for Quinnipiac as they do capture all 3 points of Dubani.
Yeah, and that body block onto the Mercy that was respawning was a great play. Not able to touch that point, and they died with quite a few ultimates in their bank on the side of Fairfield. I was really surprised. WLK got the Bob right before they fell, and I don't think that can be canceled unless by an EMP, which might just, deactivate Bob, but pretty sure that animation goes through no matter what, unless you're killed instantly. So WLK could have thrown Bob on to try to get a little bit of a stall. Bob has so much health. Just stalling is doing something. Don't have to get any kills there when you need the rest of the team to get on. But able to hold out for a little bit longer than most teams we've seen today. Only 2 minutes and 40 seconds in the time bank for Quinnipiac. And I say that like it's not a lot of time. It's still a lot of time on your first attack.
Yeah, you start the entire round with 4 minutes, only losing 1 minute and 20 seconds of that. Looking into a potential extended round, I feel pretty confident about that, especially with how coordinated the dive has been looking between Firewolf and Pedro. Maga and Grub have a pretty unique synergy, and as they're rolling out here on the defense, going to be a little bit of a double sniper action between the two.
Yeah, we're going to see the Hanzo from both sides, so maybe some Hanzo 1v1s. Would love to see the rest of the teams just let them do their thing. But with some Mercies in the mix, that's not going to happen. There's going to be heals here and there. They're one of my favorite clips from Australian contenders. I don't know if you've seen this, but they literally just let the first attack or the first fight on a control map just be determined by a Torp Hammer 1v1. Great stuff. Don't think we're going to see that here today, but we did see a little bit of hammer time earlier on in the day. No hammer kills gonna be here yet. WLK looking for that opening pick as right now Fairfield starts their attack on Numbani.
And their Hanzo was really good back on Oasis. They were able to find a lot of key picks, but that was when Grub was on the Tracer. Now they're on the Hanzo, so a little bit of an isolated 1v1 maybe, by definition of the hero, but still a dive defense nevertheless for Firewolf and Pedro. They meet Adric and Wrench, who is now on the Zarya, up on the high ground. Adric is taking a lot of spam to their shield between the Ashe of Maga and Grub on the Hanzo. Great aspects is on the McCree for their offense, is looking for a lot of poke damage themselves. But unfortunately, Adric drops down to the point, maybe a little bit of miscoordination, and the Dynamite's finding a lot of worth, and so is Firewolf in the dive. Grub takes down WLK, is uncontested on this high ground as they continue to absolutely decimate multitude of targets. Adric does find a constellation elimination on the Firewolf, but you can only imagine that that should be res. It might not be, but nevertheless, Cookie is back to the point, and Firewolf will be soon.
Yeah, and Cookie was the first to fall, so I really thought they would push their advantage there. And, I know they gave up the high ground, and you were wondering exactly why they did that, but that's a hard comp to play on the high ground. That Ryan, he has no range except for his Fire Strike. His shield is getting destroyed. Just play the objective. Force them to you. Make them come and contest it, but the rotation not coming out quick enough. And again, the ultimate bank of Quinnipiac looking so good in the early stages of their defense. 2 minutes and 30 and counting right now left for Fairfield.
Can only imagine this nano boost defensively for Quinnipiac will probably go on a Firewolf, who also has the Primal Rage online. You can see right where they're hanging out, just waiting for the corner. A projected barrier from Wrench onto Adric, who now has their Earth Shatter. It's also hit with a Dynamite. Maga is only about 16% away for this Bob to be online. They can just continue to play up on this high ground. The triple sniper, if you will, but Firewolf immediately gets bursted down. Pedro does find a trade onto Great Aspects. Great Dynamite to come through as well from Maga, just pushes all of the members from Fairfield back inside that very small room. They didn't even get a chance to truly step out.
Yeah, and now it looks like Charlie might get staggered out, gonna fall. So now they're gonna have to wait even longer, and this just looks like deja vu from that first attack we saw. Again, they get the first pick. Fairfield gets the entry frag, but no follow-up, not able to push the objective. And now 6 ults on the side of Fairfield versus 5 ults on the side of Quinnipiac. Whatever team is able to execute first is probably going to be the one that comes away. We really need to see the Grab Dragons come out from Fairfield. That is their bread and butter, and they need to make sure it's not eaten by Pedro.
Now, I was about to say, Pedro is about to play a very pivotal role here. The Dragon Strike is actually about to come through defensively, followed up by a self-destruct. A small room turns into a Dragon Blender for Grub, and Pedro finds 2 with a self-destruct. Quinnipiac, they won that ultimate. Although Firewolf also used their ultimate too, might have been a little bit of an overinvestment.
Yeah, I mean, they had 4... they used the Bob too. I didn't even realize that. So they used 4 ultimates there. That's a lot. And now they're only going to have the Mercy Valkyrie. Meanwhile, 6 ults still on the side of Fairfield. They need to push this objective quickly because, if they lose this fight and they don't push it quick enough, it's going to be last fight for them right now.
Adric is taking so much spam, their shield is just damn near broken. Great Aspect tries to use the high noon, gets immediately headshot by Maga. Grub also takes on WOK. Earthshatter used from Adric. Does knock 2 on their back, is able to take down Maga. And now Zodiac is actually able to find the rest of WOK. This could be worth it. Ren still has the Graviton Surge. He could use the Dragon Top, but Firewolf is still back here, causing absolute mayhem. Finds 3. Fairfield are trying to exist on the point. The Graviton Surge is going to find 2 up top. 1 is a Pilot Diva. Nano boost on the Firewolf, who's still alive, by the way. Somehow, some way, Broccoli is keeping this Winston from Quinnipiac alive, and another from a Rage comes through. Almost 2 ticks of progress gained for Quinnipiac. For Fairfield on this point. It might just be where they only get to the progress. The Dragon Strike from WOK finally comes through, but it's not going to find anything besides a little bit of disruption. And now Wrench on the Wrecking Ball, trying to do the best spin to win impression. The Dragon Strike defensively from Grub. It's got to take down Wrench. Maga is alive and causing absolute disruption on the point with the Dynamite, but then Firewolf and Pedro are still here focus firing and playing the dive defense so wonderfully. Adrex on a last-ditch effort, Winston just trying to lock down the elimination on a Maga, but they're being pocketed. They're trying to stall it out. Charlie is here to try to help things out. The self-destruct comes through from Pedro, and I think Adric just barely stays alive from that self-destruct, but Maga again with his Dynamite, and their Ash play has been harmonious to join in for the rest of the members of Quinnipiac on this defense, which they will full hold against Fairfield and go up in the map series count 2-0.
If you're gonna run the Reinhardt, you need the Lucio. It's so hard to play a Reinhardt without the Lucio, and it's a lot of what I saw on Oasis where they, again, just cannot finish fights. They get that opening pick, they use ultimates, and then what happens? They don't know what to do. They kind of stall out, they stay in the same position, which is more advantageous for Quinnipiac. I mean, when you've got mobile characters like Winston, you know, the Diva, you got the Mercy who can fly around, they don't need necessarily to, you know, have to be moved around by Lucio. They have their own mobility. They can just kind of run around the map on their own. So they had the pieces there on the side of Fairfield to continue that map to, you know, get that first point capped and then move it on to the second point. 6 ultimates in their bank, and in the end, you know, that first pick onto the McCree, it just went downhill from there for Fairfield. But, you know, we're going to Hanamura for our third map. They can start the comeback here. They have to start the comeback here, because otherwise we're going to see another 3-0 on the day.
Having some Mad Fort Minor and Lincoln Park vibes, so, you know, you got one shot, one opportunity, but in the end, it didn't even matter, as they were just getting absolutely blistered. And we're trying to walk through that choke. And like I said, I mean, to have the Lucio would definitely help to speed your way onto the point. But you don't really have a definitive way of taking those snipers off the high ground, too, which is why, again, we talk about just the dive from Quinnipiac. Whether it's practice or not, just works so well on Nubani. It really always has, apart from, you know, a few times and a few metas, whether Reinhardt was stronger than Winston or even Goats. So you need a way of getting off that high ground. But you brought up Hanamura, and as we work our way over here, a little bit more of an open field, especially on point A. I wonder if Quinnipiac will stick with their dive here. They've been running it almost every single stage of Oasis and every single map so far. Don't fix what ain't broke, I guess.
Yeah, and if we're gonna bring up, you know, rock music references, one of my favorite heavier bands, Killswitch Engage, they've got a song called "This Fire Burns," and
true.
Firewolf,
great band,
not dire, you know. This fire burns always, and like you said, Firewolf did not die on that defense so many times where you thought, oh, this is it, they're finally going to get rid of them, but that Winston would not go into spawn by choice, and, you know, it's working. Their dive is working so well, like you said, so I don't think they're going to switch it up. They could run the Widow here. We see Grub on it. Could just be a swap. You know, you can try to control that whole high ground with the Widow, you know, kind of just have everyone else on the enemy team scared of losing their head because, you know, one shot, one kill for every squishy that they have. We're going to see the Torp come out from Great Aspects, so maybe we will see a bit of hammer time here. They are going to be running that Rein Zarya, and again, no Lucio. They do have a high heal potential with the Ana Moira, but it's going to be really hard for them to move around this first point.
It's going to be really hard to re-engage into a lot of different targets because Firewolf and Pedro, they are staying on this Winston and the Diva. Grub comes out on the Widowmaker, immediately sees Great Aspects on the Torbjorn, and I like this pick coming out. I mean, you do pull out the 7th player mechanic for Fairfield. Grub is under a lot of pressure. They got to get healed here, only 20 HP. Just turn around, Cookie. Just, you know, just give him a little bit of heal. You know, Broccoli's going to give him the Harmony Orb, but Maga does find a trade. 1-for-1. 5v5 on the opening courtyard towards point A of Hanamura. You got to think that this might favor the defense, but the offense does have a swift decision just to take a little bit of a disengage because they have the closer spawn.
Yeah, and I think that pick that we saw from Charlie at the end basically seals the deal. Now they're going to have to back off on the attack for a little bit, but, you know, they're still playing at the choke. They're not giving up this positioning.
Adric is under a lot of pressure. They're discorded, and they're half HP. They don't even have a shield anymore. It gets absolutely bulldozed down. WOK now discorded. Firewolf with the Primal Rage. Absolute beauty of a Primal Rage yet again, as they have been doing this entire series. And now the Coalescence is going to come through defensively from Charlie, but Adric really needed that help as Pedro just absolutely overruns them. The Reaper from Maga is still alive, but Great Aspects is displacing a lot of them. Wrench drops the Graviton Surge, has absolutely no follow-up, but Great Aspects is still here being alive. Pedro's going to drop the Self-Destruct, is going to buy Cookie some space. An unfortunate disconnect happens as well. They lost their Ana, so we're going to go into a mere tactical pause, but even losing the Ana, they were still winning that fight. They were still winning that fight 5v6. I'm going to go inside.
I mean, they have a huge spawn advantage right now on the attacking side. So one thing I want to look at, though, is Grub. Grub is so weak right now. So if they fall, this might be turnable. Cookie does have that Valkyrie online. I believe they just used the res, so that will be offline for a little bit. You know, it just looks like they really didn't think that Quinnipiac was going to be at that choke. We saw Adric push up into it, into the bubble. So a lot of resources had to be used to save them because they couldn't get any of that Ana healing. The motor healing can also be cut off by that bubble. So even though Zakia Killer got that nano, not able to use it before they died, and probably going to see a pretty quick cap now when we get unpaused. And here it is.
Unpaused we go. Great Aspect's going to get dealt with. Broccoli won't have the Transcendence online, but their Discord orb placement has been beautiful. And, well, if you've never played a dive tank before, you're basically like a golden retriever. You're just playing fetch. Just chase the purple orb and just absolutely bulldoze down these targets.
There is nothing that makes me enjoy Overwatch more than Great Zen play, honestly. I mean, I think he might be less of a sharpshooter in certain teams, but he can really help lead a fight. That Discord orb is basically a free target call for your team, because whoever's orb, that's who you want to focus down, that's who you want to kill. They do have DPS ults very shortly online for Quinnipiac.
Quinnipiac trying to create a snowball effect. They're immediately on the point. Grub has a Dragon Strike online. Maga also has a Death Blossom. They pull both of them at the same time. WOK just looking for targets, but it's another blender as the breakdance does go through for Maga. They are able to take down Wrench, and the Dragon Strike takes down Adric. Great focus fire coming through from Quinnipiac, who have yet to use a single player. They go for a full-on wipe. There's a team kill gong that comes on through. Wrench on the Diva trying to touch the point. They will do just that, but they're going to lose the mech in the process. Great pin coming out of the gates is Adric. Not going to be able to find even the D-mech onto Pedro, as Grub is still alive. An absolute instrumental player for Quinnipiac's success with the Storm Arrow finds Stu. WOK is able to take down Cookie, but is it going to be enough? It absolutely won't be, as a 4-minute and 5-second time bank is set up here for Quinnipiac as they capture both points for Hanamura.
Yeah, 5 more seconds and they started their attack with, and you know, Zodiac Killer had that nano, was not able to use it, and I think it's a bit of a panic play. They just threw it on the soldier. You really want to try to throw it onto your tank. That's who it's the most valuable on. And like you said, a great pin by Adric, but kind of put them out of the LOS of the Ana on their team, where they're body blocked, I think, by the enemy team. And as you saw, the stagger was just not enough on the side of the defenders, not able to throw any bodies on by the end. And a very, very dominant attack that we've seen from Quinnipiac. But, you know, we've seen that pretty consistently throughout this short series so far, so no surprise there. But we have seen fight from Fairfield. You know, they have come very close many times. So can they get a full cap and force extra rounds? That's the question. It's do or die from them. Go big or go home, because they lose this map, they lose the series, and they're going home in a 0-1 hole to start out the season. Not a big hole, you know, just a tiny hole, but a hole nonetheless.
Yeah. Still a hold, nevertheless, and rolling out on this defense. I like what Quinnipiac are trying to do. I mean, not the big burst damage that we've been seeing ever since we started this series on Oasis, but I like this May pick coming out. The displacement, just to help Firewolf and Pedro on the dive tanks, it's only going to be just setting them up ever so more.
Yeah, they're going to be using that Sim TP probably to either get on top of the point or on the point, but again, no Lucio, so not enough. No, not a big speed boost to get out of there, but they do have the BAP, which is a really great choice. That lamp can keep you alive in close quarters.
Comes Great Aspects. trying to put the TP on the point. WOK is on the Mei too, so you want to talk about a lack of burst damage? There it is, but a great TP comes through in the wall. Blocks off the rest of the members, but Great Aspects and Charlie go down. Adric is able to find Pedro, so that's a tank for 2 players. Now the offense are trying to stabilize on the point, but Grub is just up top, uncontested. Maga is also able to find a key freeze, and then the Icicle headshot onto both tanks of Wrench, which were discorded by Broccoli again. And it's just immediately stuffed the attempt to attack with the TP from Fairfield.
I don't think anyone knew Grib was up there on that banister until the very end. I think WLK looked there at the last second, was able to see that there was someone there, but a little bit too late. Just Grub able to make that a shooting gallery for themselves. Pedro not going to find the bat that's right there. Charlie maybe in a little bit of hot water. And now we're going to see WLK on the Tracer. They swap Great Aspects as well to that Junkrat, and now Wrench on the D.Va. So some full sale swaps coming. Half the team changed, and still they cannot get through this choke.
Now, so you swapped to the D.Va because you're really trying to shut down this dynamite that's coming through, but Adric does not have the support of their team, does not get the countdown before they go through the wall. Now Firewolf with the Primal Rage just going absolutely hamburgers into the back line of Fairfield. Displaces Great Aspects, but can't lock down to the elimination, just helps them get back to spawn.
Yeah, but in the meantime, Wrench is going to be demeched and falling, so still a stagger kill nonetheless on the attackers. WLK not going to swap to the Widow, so it seems like a little bit of musical chairs of heroes right now, and Fairfield really struggling to get anything going. They do have the Coalescence, they do have the Shatter, but Maga and Grub, Pedro and Cookie all have ults of their own, so right now the advantage goes to the defenders.
Oh no, Adric gets walled off again and immediately bulldozed through. Pedro throws a self-destruct over the wall, finds 2 plus the Immortality field. They weren't even under the same lamp together. Very unfortunate circumstances, and we're down to sub 2 minutes for Fairfield to capture point A.
Well, you know, they were social distancing. They didn't want to all be too close, you know. I respect it, following the regulations and rules. But yeah, I mean, the bomb just was masterclass, and now they still have 4 all-sleeves on the side of the defenders. WLK discorded, not going to fall, but very weak, it is going to fall.
Grub, nasty shots on the WLK. Although discorded and helped out by Broccoli, those shots are just filthy. 4 ultimates online for Quinnipiac on the defense. They're just finding tons of staggers, Great Aspects. Now over to the Pharah, merciless by the way, and against Grub that's hitting shots like that, I would not want to play Pharah into that. Maybe you're playing a little bit of ground fire, and Adric over to the Roadhog too. They're thrown back to spawn again, Jag.
Yeah, I think they're basically just trying to do anything that might work, trying everything at this point. The bomb gonna come out early, but it's gonna find Cookie. That might be their opening.
That's a big elimination. Great Aspects also finds a rocket onto Grub. 2 eliminations now in favor for the offense of Fairfield. They are looking to put themselves on the point, but Broccoli, with the orbs, are able to take down Great Aspects, and now you're trying to just work your way to the point if you're only 1 down. It's a 1-for-2 trade. Now the window comes through. Amplification makes it from Charlie. They're going to get immediately headshot from Mag all the way through. Zodiac Killer pulls out the Coalescence, melts Pedro. The May Blizzard comes through from Maga. That's the defensive Blizzard. It's just going to cut the point in half. There's no progress gained so far, as Fairfield are just trying to chase out the eliminations. Hopefully this is coming back to hurt them, as you do see Cookie trying to stick the res. They're able to get Maga. Great Aspect comes back on the Tracer now, is able to shut down Cookie, and Maga also is able to find a DMAC. Grub comes back, throws Bob on the point, takes down Zodiac Killer. There's not even a single tick of progress. Bob is doing work. You absolutely love to see it. And Firewolf takes down Charlie Slayer. Atric comes back and is able to take down Firewolf, but there's nobody left alive. Great Aspect goes down by Grub. The overtime will ensue, but who is here to get the overtime to tick back up? Absolutely nobody. Quinnipiac, they take the series 3-0.
Well, the scriptwriters will not be denied today. Another 3-0 in the books to start off this EGF season. Wow, that last fight, I was so sure that Fairfield was going to be able to clutch up and get that first point, but in the end, it just looks like they kind of... I think that May ult was really what saved Quinnipiac. You know, they didn't get anything, but it actually zoned out Fairfield pretty hard. They weren't able to really touch the point. And from there, the res, Cookie gave up their life for it, but it was worth it. And then Bob, you always do something in our hearts, but really you did it well on that point, able to hold it down, lock it down, and then the rest of the team able to roll on in and take that fight victory. So Quinnipiac, at the end of the day, a 3-0. And, you know, I think really early on, we can just kind of see that there's a level of competition for some teams that's a bit higher than others. So I think it's going to be really interesting in the coming weeks to see like, who really rises to the occasions when you've got like the teams that are a bit higher tiered when it comes to play.
Yeah, and that's also the thing too. I mean, in collegiate esports, you're always going to have a little bit of the three Overwatch, the misplays, the mishaps, and a little bit of a skill difference. Let's just put it that way. Some teams definitely scrim a little bit more. Some teams are a little bit more tuned, whether or not they have been going to college together and they have been playing as a team more than the others. And again, I mean, these are students first before they are, esports athletes. So it's definitely got to come to mind when you are looking at a lot of these matches. In Fairfield, they definitely had a lot of success back on Oasis with a lot of their comfort picks, specifically for WLK and that Hanzo did look very strong, but in certain maps, in certain areas, they're going to have to go back to the tape and realize that there are a lot of different aspects that they could clean up on. And I'll play devil's advocate. The May Blizzard from MAGA, it did come through, but there was still about 3/4 at that point that was pretty open that they could be playing on, but they chased eliminations, and that's not what you want to do, even if you are in an advantageous spot to try to force out a lot of eliminations. Get the point first, make them go away, and then try to get the stagger eliminations. They don't have a Lucio, so they're not going to be able to disengage cleanly. And especially for Fairfield, you had to have known that because you couldn't re-engage on Nubani as well. I don't want to sit here and poke the bear too hard, but it's just some things that when they go back and watch the VOD that they could definitely learn from, Jack.
I mean, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Even when you win and when you win pretty decisively, there are always things you can learn from. There are always mistakes you're going to make. So I hope proper that they go back, they watch the tape, they can learn from it. And Fairfield, again, they had a lot of really good moments, and I think they're a team to watch. Obviously weren't able to rise to the occasion today, but it's a long season. They got a lot of time to recover from this, to learn from this. And, if they can follow up on those opening picks, maybe change up their compositions a bit, I think they are definitely a team to be looking out for. Maybe a dark horse later on in this season.
Yeah, definitely. Between those dive tanks of Firewolf and Pedro, I definitely want to see more of Quinnipiac in their dive because it was harmonious. It was absolutely beautiful to watch. But you said it wonderfully. This is a very long season, and this is only week 1, y'all. So I mean, if you enjoyed what you saw, make sure that you're following the stream so that way you can end up seeing a whole lot more of this EGF Overwatch Season 2, because it's going to be a lot of different weeks that have a lot of different arrays of composition. On behalf of for Juke in the background that's been doing the in-game observing and the production for us here on the official channel, make sure you go give him a follow. That's at JukeCast on Twitter, JagCast as well, and I'm ProperCast, all casts, just with our first names, with our first part of our names, the Proper, Jag, and Juke included. You can find us all on Twitter, and don't forget to give EGF some love there as well. You can find them at official EGF on Twitter. They are a governing body for D1 varsity, collegiate, high school, and youth esports alike. You can find out more about them at www.egf.gg. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for some more collegiate action.
And really quickly, just to jump in off the end of that, we did have some cancellations for tonight. So be sure to be looking at all of the social media channels to see when those games are going to be rescheduled. We still have a little bit of action later this week, but just as Proper said, thank you and good night.